Really awesome talk by our very own Rev Dawn today, kicking off our month of October with prosperity. So I'm going to give him a chance for Minister's Moment this morning, and then we will kick off our special music and go from there.
As Stevie said, our theme for this month is abundance and prosperity. We will have 5 talks that all go together, each progressing as we go through the month. So this is the first of 5, and I think we can keep you entertained for a few weeks. So thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron, you never cease to surprise me. You have a great brand new song this morning. Thank you. Once upon a time, there was a very wealthy man. He decided to take his son on a trip, an adventure, to take his son to a location outside of the city, to a farm that most people would consider to be very, very poor. This was almost a reverse Buddha kind of thing, where Gautama's father, the king, kept Gautama from experiencing the darker side of life, sickness, death, poverty, and things like that. This man wanted his son to experience those things. So he took his son out to a very poor farm for a week to spend on the farm. And they spent their week on the farm. They worked hard from sunup to sundown. They experienced everything was that this poor farmer and his family experienced. And when their week was done, they got back to the city, to the confines of their beautiful beautiful house and everything. And the man asked his son, well, did you have a good experience? And the son said, well, yes, Dad, I did. He said, did you learn anything? And he said, why, yes, I did. Did you learn how poor people can be? And the son said, yes, Dad, I did. And he said, son, tell me, what did you learn? And this is what the son replied. I saw that we have one dog, and they have 4. We have a pool that reaches to the middle of our garden. They have a creek that has no end. We have imported lanterns in our garden. They have the stars at night. Our patio reaches to the front yard. They have the entire horizon. We have a small piece of land to live on. They have fields that go on and on beyond sight. We have servants to serve us. They serve others. We buy our food, but they grow theirs. We have walls around our property to protect us. They have friends to protect them. The boy's father was speechless. Then his son added, it showed me just how poor we really are. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you all for joining us today, whether it be here in person today, whether it be online, Facebook Live, or whether you join us later in the archives of Facebook Live, or whether you join us on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us today and for allowing us to be a part of your life. Thank you. It is indeed an honor. The title of my talk today is The Prosperous Life, and that's also the theme for this month, The Prosperous Life. I have 3 main points. First of all, I'm going to talk about prosperity and abundance, what that really is. Then I'm going to talk about we must accept our good, and finally I'm going to talk about the transition from abundance to prosperity and what that looks like. So we'll start off. What is abundance and prosperity? The word prosperity comes from the Latin root, which literally translates according to hope, or to go forward hopefully. Thus, it is not so much a condition of life as it is an attitude toward life. The truly prosperous person is what psychologist Rollo May calls a fully functioning person. And then I was looking for a specific quote in Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth, and I came across this little poem he wrote that it was so good I have to stick it in. Prosperity is a way of living and thinking, and not just money or things. Poverty is a way of living and thinking, and not just lack of money or things. I didn't even know Eric Butterworth was a poet. But later on, I found the thing I was looking for. The word affluence is an overworked word in our time, even though he said that many, many years ago, usually implying cars and houses and baubles of all kinds. Its literal meaning as an abundant flow, and not things at all. When we are consciously centered in the universal flow, we experience inner direction and the unfoldment of creative activity. Things come too, but prosperity is not just having things, it is the consciousness that attracts things. The universe is abundant and unlimited in every aspect. If it were not unlimited, we would have depleted it long, long ago. Life would have exhausted itself. Law would have ceased to function. Love would have lost its power to harmonize and to heal. And thought and consciousness would have retreated to instinctive reaction. Instead, what do we find? The fish in the ocean lay so many eggs that if they all hatched, the waters would overflow the lowlands. The stars in the heavens are beyond counting. The grains of sand on the beaches are innumerable. The leaves of the trees continue to multiply. Nature is lavish, abundant, and extravagant. So point number 2 is we must accept our good. Receiving is a mental process. Again, receiving is a mental process. God, Spirit, the thing itself, whatever name you choose to identify with a higher power, fills all space and animates every form. Therefore, that higher power is the true actor in everything. But that higher power, Spirit, can only act for you by acting through you. This means simply that God can only give you what you take. The thing that inhibits our ability to receive in this earthly plane is our belief in limitation. I see this all the time. I don't deserve that good. Now, we may not consciously be aware that we're saying that I don't deserve that good. We may be saying I deserve every bit of the good that I can ever possibly get. But the tape that's running in the back of our minds, that subconscious tape that's going on, ooh, I don't deserve that. And it is that tape which is limiting our ability to receive. Or the things that we've been taught, oh my goodness, they're terrifying. One that I grew up with and I've shared this with before is money is dirty. Ooh, look at how many people have held that. Ooh, money is dirty. Well, money may have germs on it, but it is also a spiritual representation of something much greater. And that's what we can focus on. And all of these limiting thoughts are false beliefs. These are all things that are not, absolutely not true. It is important for us to simply recognize that each and every one of us are made from that infinite creative force. We are all part of that infinite being, that infinite that has created all of everything. We are products. And that infinite source did not create everything in this universe so perfectly, absolutely perfectly, except you. You are the one mistake that the infinite has made. I don't think so. You are perfect just as you are. You are also a free choice, and you are free to choose and embrace false beliefs. And that you are anything less than beautiful, anything less than perfect is a false belief. Ernest Holmes wrote in Your Invisible Power, "There is a difference whether you believe in actual limitation or merely in a restricted use of freedom. If limitation were a thing in itself, you could not change it. But since it is merely an outline of experience, why not use your imagination to enlarge that experience?" That's powerful. So what can we do? How do we go about changing that experience by enlarging our imagination, using our imagination? Once again, Ernest Holmes, and he said this in Creative Living, "We must set up a receiving center. No matter how abundantly the horn of plenty may pour out its universal gifts, we must hold up our bowl of acceptance or their gift cannot be complete. Life is ready to give us all that we desire, but we must first cast from us everything that hinders its complete expression through us. Let go of all the struggle and strife and accept the divine bounty." I came across this and it tickled my funny bone. This is also Ernest Holmes, and it's also in Creative Living. "Whosoever lifts his cup of acceptance to the outpouring of the divine abundance shall find that it will be filled." But mostly we turn our cup upside down. And I think there's a lot of truth into that too. Sometimes we're unable to receive it. The truth is that we live in a lavish and abundant universe in which everything that we could ever want or need can be and will be provided to us. And if we don't lay hold of what God provides, that's not God's fault, it's ours. That was Edwene Gaines in her book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. And in these 5 weeks, I'm going to talk about a lot of things. And I'm going to talk about the law of attraction. I'm going to talk about the law of circulation. Then on the 4th week, Stevie's going to come back up and she's going to talk to us about gratitude. And then in the 5th week, I'm going to talk about how that infinite source wants to express through us in abundance, in prosperity. That's how that creative infinite force wants to experience this thing that we call life. But in those little 5 20-minute talks, I can't really get all the way into it. So we have some practitioners who have stepped forward in service to our community. Linda, our candle lighter this morning, and her sidekick Judy, sort of a kind of a Batman and Robin deal, but I haven't figured out which one's Batman yet. They are going to be offering a class. It's based on that book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwene Gaines. It's going to start on the 12th. I don't have the details yet and everything, but it will be a Zoom class. It will be based on a love offering, so it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to attend it. You're free to contribute whatever you want to, but it's a powerful class. And they gave it last year, and I got nothing but rave reviews on it. So if prosperity and abundance and money and all of those kinds of things are an issue in your life, I would really encourage you to take the time to attend this class. And even if it's not, even if you are fully aware of the abundant flow in your life, I think you can still gain something from this class. So I urge you to take this class, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. Finally, in regard to this idea of limitation, I want to quote Judge Thomas Troward, the Edinburgh Lectures. Belief in limitation is the one and the only thing that causes limitation, because we thus impress limitation upon the creative principle, and in proportion as we lay that belief aside, our boundaries will expand, and increasing life and more abundant blessings will be ours. When we set aside those limiting beliefs, the good flows into us. When we can get rid of this concept that I am not worthy, then the goodness can flow to us. All of a sudden, that cup which is turned upside down can now be right side up. My final point is from abundance to prosperity. How do we take this abundance that we experience in the universe? I've shared with you one of my concepts, and that was once in that stream fly fishing, and all of a sudden the salmon moved in, and there were so many salmon in that stream, they were running into my boots, they're running into my legs, and I'm sitting there trying to fish. More salmon than you could imagine. How do we go from the abundance of the universe and drive it into our lives, a prosperous life? Once again, we return to Ernest Holmes in The Love and Law. People must realize that no matter how infinite the infinite may be, it can only become to them what it can become through them. We must look at ourselves with our own eyes. If we could open up, clean house mentally, and get out of ourselves everything that ails us, I don't care what the poverty is or the misery is, everything would be allowed, because the infinite cannot refuse anything. The infinite cannot refuse anything if we only open ourselves up to it. And this is how we move. And when we do that, it doesn't necessarily always go in exactly the form that we want it to. Sometimes when we open ourselves up to those things, we find ourselves on what some people would consider to be a poor, poverty-ridden farm. But we have gifts that far exceed the imported lanterns, or exceed the gated walls, or exceed the servants. We have far greater gifts. Refer to the parable of the talents. This was actually told, I think, in about 3 different Gospels. The most commonly quoted was the book of Matthew. And this is a wealthy man. Today's the day for wealthy men, I guess. This wealthy man decided to go on a long journey. Don't know where it was. Maybe he was going to walk across Spain. I don't know. And before he left, he decided to divide up his fortune amongst some of his servants and ask them to take care of his fortune for him. And so he called in his most trusted servant, and he told him, I am going to be going away on a trip. This will be over a period of years, and I am going to give you 5 talents of gold for you to take care of. And I expect you to not only protect it, but to increase it. And the servant said, okay, that'd be great. 5 talents of gold. A talent is 33 and a half kilograms. And I think back to my days of walking across Spain when I had an 11 kilo pack and thought that was an awful lot. 33 would be about 75 pounds. So he's entrusting him with 75 pounds of gold. That's a pretty good shot. So this servant took this amount of enormous wealth, and I don't know exactly what he did, but he went down and he put it in the stock market. He had some in stock, some in bonds, and he was smart. He diversified. He got some futures, a few other things, but he invested and he worked the money and he did things. And over the period of time when the master was gone, he doubled those 5 talents into 10. So he brought in his second loyal servant, and he asked him, said, I'm going to be leaving on this trip for several years, and I'm going to give you 2 talents, and I want you to invest this and to take care of it for me, and so I have it when I get back. And the servant said, okay, I'll do that. And likewise, he made some good investments. He got some real estate. He got some other things. He also got some stocks and bonds. He took care of his money, and over the course that the master were gone, he too doubled the amount of money. And the third servant, he brought in the third servant, and he said, I'm going to be gone for a few years, and I'd like to give you a talent, and I want you to take care of it while I'm gone. And so, we're talking about a significant chunk of gold here. And he says, I want you to take care of it for me. And servant said, okay, I'll do that. So the rich man packed up his stuff, and off he went on his journey. Well, the other 2 went about their business. That third guy, he thought about it, and he thought, we kind of live in a reciprocal universe. What comes around goes around. And I know that this guy hasn't been the most honest and straightforward dealing with everybody. There might be some people that are out to get him. I'm just going to take care of it. So he went out in the backyard, and he dug a big hole, and he buried his talent in the ground. Well, the rich man returned. And he brought the first servant in, and he said, well, how did you do? And he explained that he doubled his money. Oh, that's great. You're an honorable servant. You have done well with me with a little bit. I am going to reward you by taking care of a lot. He brought in the second servant. He says, how did you do? He said, well, I invested it. I got a little real estate. I did some stuff. I have the value of what you have, and I've doubled it. He says, oh, that's great. You're an honorable servant, he says. You have taken good care of my money. You've done well with a little bit. I'm going to reward you with taking care of a lot. And he called in the third servant, and he said, well, how did you do? And he says, I know you're kind of a rascal, and I wasn't too sure it was going to happen, so I was afraid of losing any of it. I just went out in the backyard and buried it. So I dug it up, and here it is. Here's your talent back. And the rich man said, you fool. He said, I asked you to do something with it, not to just go bury it. He said, I expected you to use what you've been given to increase it. He said, I'm so mad at you. In fact, I'm taking back this talent, and I'm going to give it to the guy that has 10. Well, like all of the parables of the great wayshower, this makes you think, what is the message here? What is really going on? What is he saying? And the one thing that I love about the parables is there is no right or wrong answer. There is nothing that says, oh, this is the only interpretation of that parable. Well, there may be somebody that says that, but I don't believe that. I think that it's personal, that the interpretation of this parable and all of the parables is deeply personal, and it's whatever you decide that you want it to be, what it rings for you. And what this parable says to me is that the master in this case is the infinite presence. The master is the universe. And this master has given us talents, has given us things to do, has given us opportunities in life. And if we use those opportunities, if we step into it and we work with those, we are going to be rewarded over and over again. But if we hoard what we've been given, if we bury what we've been given in the ground and never let it out to see the light of day, that too will be taken away from us eventually. And we see this so many times, and I find it ironic that we have that word talent. Talent not only being a unit of measure of gold and silver, but also a measure of the things that we've been given, whether it be our beautiful voice or the ability to play an instrument or to sing or any of the other things, the talents that we may have. If we take those talents, the things that we've been given, and we've all been given, magnificent talents, if we bury those because we think that we're not good enough, if we restrict that flow, then we will lose it too. Use it or lose it. Conclusion today. I was really taken with Stevie's sacred readings. Bednar. Wow. Hockey coach. Who would think hockey coach would be a deep metaphysical thinker? Okay. Quote I have. How to Use the Science of Mind. Ernest Holmes. Conclusion. Your takeaway. The great lesson is that life delivers itself into our capacity to receive it. The outpouring from the cosmic horn of plenty can only fill the cup that is lifted up toward it. A pail turned on its side cannot be filled with rain from heaven. And Bednar, sometimes we may ask God for success, and he gives us physical and mental stamina. We might plead for prosperity, and we receive enlarged perspective and increased patience. Or we petition for growth and are blessed with the gift of grace. He may bestow upon us conviction and confidence as we strive to achieve worthy goals. Prosperity not only refers to cars and houses and all sorts of baubles. Prosperity is far deeper, and we all have a birthright to prosperity in every form. And so it is with that awareness of our prosperous nature that I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, to join me in holding our congregation, whether they are here in this room or online, or whether they're viewing later in the week, to hold every one of us in love and light, and recognizing that as we go through this thing called life, experiencing everything from pandemics to fires to floods, all of the things that are happening in our globe at this time, that there is indeed a power in the universe that is greater than we are. And that power responds to us. It responds to us and gives us the ability and the brains to take action to deal with the problems that we face. That there is a magnificent power in the universe, and it is for us. And so as we experience health challenges, we simply know that there is that part of us that is within us that knows exactly how cells are to reproduce, to heal strokes, heart attacks, diseases of every type, including COVID. That there is a power that is for us. And I speak my word for those that are sensing lack and limitation. We just simply know that that abundant universe is constantly outpouring to help us at every corner, at every moment. And I speak my word now for those who are feeling separation from one another, and separation from a higher power. We just know that the very love of God is at the heart of each and every one of us. And as we interact with one another, that love is capable of guiding all that we have. And so we just open our hearts up and we allow the love of God to flow in and out just as easily as our breath. And so we just give thanks. We give thanks for our awareness of the prosperous life. We give thanks for all of the good in our lives. So now we just step back, we let it go, we let it be, and we are so grateful. And so it is.
If I wanna have more love in my life, it's time to open my heart up and let it shine. Whatever it is I truly desire, it's mine if I can be inspired. I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet. Yeah, nobody else gonna rescue me. I've got to treat and move my feet. If I wanna have more joy in my life, I'm gonna keep on smiling till I feel alright. The key to success is in my hands. As soon as I understand, I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet. Nobody else gonna rescue me. I've got to treat and move my feet. If I wanna have more peace in my life, I need to take the time to listen to the voice inside. If I know who I am and my aim is true, the only thing I've got to do, come on everybody, I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet. Nobody else gonna rescue me. I've got to treat and move my feet. I'm so glad
great reminder that in addition to all this, we have to take action ourselves. Now it's the time in the service where we are afforded the opportunity to participate in another one of our spiritual practices, that being the law of circulation. So while baskets are going around, I'd like to recognize some of the people that we have online today and in our chat room. Oh, look at all the people we have. We've got Kaleem, Jacqueline, Lynn, Marion, Joan Heidel, Michelle Kuntz, Loanne, Cynthia George, Candace Moore, Barb Taylor, and special shout out to Cora. Cora, who watches on Wednesday evenings. So thank you, Cora, for inviting us into your home and for being with us. So with that, let us do our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
And as we honor this quiet and sacred place, let us take a conscious moment to center ourselves in that universal flow. Recognize that prosperity and poverty are both ways of thinking, so let us choose to be prosperous. Through our free will, we can silence any tapes that are playing that are reinforcing that lack. And we can choose to let go of those false beliefs and reveal that immutable wholeness. Recognize and know that the infinite cannot refuse anything. And so let us open our hearts, expand our imagination, and call forth our endless prosperity by taking those talents that we've buried and sharing them with the world. And as we do this, we become our greatest selves. And so it is. And our affirmation for today: I accept the divine bounty.
I accept the divine bounty.
I share my talents freely.
I share my talents freely.
My life is prosperous.
My life is prosperous.
And so it is.
And so it is. There was a time in my life I thought I'd have to do it all for myself. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got